All right, here we are. Brandon Tobin, right over here on his fourth summer. Brandon's gonna share with us some wisdom about how to sell high school high schoolers who are doing really well in school. His best week with well over 1,000 units, 20 customers were high school juniors, volume 1 through 4 in College Prep Pack. So here, Brandon Tobin, share with us some wisdom.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Shea was introducing me. His middle name is College Prep Pack, so that was quite an introduction coming from Jeff, College Prep Pack Shea. And I don't know, about well over 1,000, so 24 over. Anyway, so my idea here today was from talking to a lot of first years and just other people in general, I noticed that it's easy to get intimidated when you're talking to really smart high schoolers because we feel that maybe they're doing so well in school already that they don't need anything that we have and that they're doing fine without it. At least that's definitely what Mrs. Jones is going to tell us, and the kids might even tell us that, so it might kind of decrease our confidence. So after having a really good, you should introduce yourself, say hi, Johanna, to the camera. After having a really good PC with Johanna on Sunday, this is where I got the idea to do this, because she actually went to school in Canada, knew absolutely nothing about the SATs or PSATs or anything. So I was like, whew, this is an issue. We should teach people, how to sell to these kinds of kids that care about such things. So first things first is just to remember to be confident yet humble when talking to those kids. A lot of the people that are around me here today go to really good school, UC Berkeley. And I know that most Southwestern kids we work with, most kids that do the Southwestern Summer Internship are really high achievers that are also really smart. Maybe school didn't always come easily to them, but they're definitely hard workers. So just be confident that you either work hard enough or you're smart enough and go to a good enough school that you know something this kid doesn't and you can help him. And don't be intimidated, even if they go to some really fancy, private, expensive college, private school or whatever. So that's what I sometimes even say it in the sit down with Mrs. Jones. I'm like, yeah, Mrs. Jones took 11 AP classes. It's kind of dumb. It's probably too many. But I'm really glad I studied from these books because I got to skip a lot of classes at school. It saved a lot of time and money. So you can even reference your own personal. I point to the book. I say, this is the exact same stuff I used to study for my AP exams. 5 steps to a 5. I really did. Helped me get a 5 on U.S. history, language, psychology. Bought them for my little sister. Helped her pass those tests. So I'm really convicted on this stuff. I think my conviction is really what helps me do well in these situations. So just being confident that you have something to offer and that our products are good enough that they're going to use them. Because think about it, 99% of the time, when you sit down with a high schooler, they're not going to be the valedictorian. There can only be one. And they're definitely not going to be the valedictorian without trying hard or without studying from some extra resources, tutoring, study guides, software, whatever it might be. Nobody becomes a valedictorian, especially not at a fancy, competitive school, without trying hard and having some kind of competitive edge. That's why our program is called The Advantage, so kids can have an advantage and do well. Same thing with the SATs. There's no way someone's going to get a 2400 on the SAT without trying or without studying for it. That's what this is for. I've worked in school districts in Long Island that the teachers all made over $100,000 a year. They were some of the top schools in the country. Got this, my kids are way too smart for this objection all the time. But those kids are also super competitive, and they want to be able to do something that's going to help them do better than everybody else, if that makes sense. So I like to talk about the competitive edge or competitive advantage when it comes to academics. With the parents and the kids, they'll relate to that. And just remember, there's always room for improvement. So however well the kid's doing, he could probably do better. And you're there to help him do that. Talk about the SATs, to maybe kind of scare them a little bit. Talk about how tough it is and how a lot of kids have to retake it 2 or 3 times to get the score they want. And maybe talk about Kaplan, how it's the number one, pretty much, the most well-known for helping kids prepare for the SATs and PSATs. And, from working in those schools last summer in Long Island, I learned that a lot of parents paid $600-800 for Kaplan classes for their kids. What kind of special things are they doing at that class to make it worth $800? I guarantee you they're just getting up early on a Saturday when they don't want to go somewhere else to take practice tests and to have somebody tell them what their weaknesses are. What do you think our software does? It has them take practice tests and tailors to whatever their weaknesses are. It's almost the exact same thing, just $800 cheaper. So that's one thing that I'm really convicted about. And I actually got this from following Megan Dixon. She talks about the National Merit Scholarship a lot, which I knew about after high school when it was too late. I took the PSATs, I just kind of winged it because everybody said it was practice. I had no idea there was a $10,000 scholarship on the line. So remember to mention that. The National Merit Scholarship, if the kid you're talking to is a 9th grader or is going to be a sophomore or whatever, tell them this is a test worth studying for that could win $10,000 for school. And schools actually colleges brag about how many National Merit Scholars are at their school. So that's definitely something worth shooting for, worth studying for those kids. And using and organizing names is really helpful to actually connect to those people and break the ice, to get them to pay attention and realize that what you're doing is important and of value. And I have a lot of fun with it too. You can just say, you know what's funny, you guys? I'm from California. We're all the way out here in New York. I probably know more kids at your school than you do. I'll just point. Here's all the 9th graders. Here's all the 11th graders. Do you know so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know that person. I'm dating her. How do you know all these people? And I'd be like, I've just been here a long time. These are actually all the families that got the Southwestern Advantage. Isn't that awesome? And they're like, wow, cool. And I tell them it's about these study guides that save time with homework. What kid isn't with you at that point? We just went through all those names from. And the key is you actually have to organize your names. Don't just have them in a great big old blob, but actually turn your sheet around, fill in those little boxes, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and organize them by 9th and 10th and 11th graders. And I would always write we have multicolored pens for a reason. I would use, thanks Kai, but I got it. I would use green for honor students, put a little H, put red for private school students, and then there's usually like 2 main high schools, so I'll put one in blue and one in black. And that's just kind of how I would, if I ran into a private school family, I'd just be able to find that name that much faster. And I can't count the number of times at the door where the mom was trying hard to reject me, didn't want to talk to me at all. And thank God, I wrote it all down on the back, and I turned over my name sheet, and I read from the names list, and the kid was somewhere off in the distance, barely paying attention, and it was me talking to the mom. And then she just yells at the mom from across the house, Mom, I know all those kids, let them in. So many times. Like, moms that actually rejected me and 2 of my roommates before because for some reason they were selling my turf. I remember, it was my very last customer of the summer. And she was so uppity. She was like, excuse me, it's Dr. Baker. I'm a professor, not a teacher. Because I suggested she might know some of the teachers that I'd sold to. My mistake. So it was just the names of the kids that got me in the door. And that's what did it. So organize and use your names. That's one of the points that I wanted to be sure to cover. I swear I felt like I sold every kid going into 9th and 11th grade. I just had so much confidence that the kids going into 9th grade feared the unknown. Because even if they'd been doing well for middle school, it's so much easier than high school. High school is what really counts. That's where they really get loaded up with homework. That's where they're getting more involved with sports and getting loaded up with a lot more homework. So kids fear the unknown, especially if they're the oldest kid in the family and the parents don't really know what to expect either. Every kid going into 9th grade should get these books. Same thing with kids going into 11th grade. That's when they get really heavy loads of AP exams. I had at least 2 or 3 juniors last year that bought them the whole set with their own money. Like they said they were going to work during the summertime to at least pay for half or the whole thing. So I'm just really convicted that juniors need these really bad. Like AP tests are really stressful. And some people might be wondering, well, I don't have AP in my town. Maybe I have IB, or everybody does running start, so they don't even take the SATs or the AP exams. Well, those kids still stay up past midnight doing their homework because they want to get straight A's. I remember in 10th grade at a crappy high school that I went to, and I didn't even have any AP classes yet, routinely staying up until 2 to finish all my stupid math homework. It was just me and a big 2-liter of Mountain Dew. Like, all right, I'm going to have to do all my algebra homework tonight. Part of that was probably because I procrastinated, but so does every other high school kid ever. So the point is, IB and Running Start kids are still going to get a ton of homework, and our stuff saves time with homework. So that's definitely one thing to focus on when you run into that situation. And to really paint that picture, maybe using your own personal stories don't work because you don't have your own personal stories. And then there's always that adage that Mrs. Jones believes half of what you say, 75% of what somebody else says, and 100% of what she says. So if you can just learn to tell stories and use other people's names, or get their kids to say the sales talk for you, that's twice as good. You know, if you can just point at your names list and say, yeah, actually the Dickinsons, Ryan, I felt so bad, I woke his dad up, he worked graveyard shift, he didn't want to talk to me, but his kid said, Dad, let him in, I want to look at this, it's really going to help me save time with all my chemistry homework. He was one of the few freshmen on the varsity football team, and they have to stay to practice later, they have to do practice till 7:30, and then there's dinner, and then there's all the other obligations, and yeah, he was telling me he'd stay up at least till midnight, sometimes not get to finish all of his homework. He's only a freshman, you think it's going to get harder? You're going to junior year. So learning to tell stories like that. That's just one example. Oh man, that reminds me of another story. You can even use stories of people that don't buy, and it's extremely effective. And I love making fun of kids that don't buy and regret it. A perfect example of this was a kid named Jay Wang in my turf last year. Everybody told me to go see Jay Wang. They're like, have you guys seen Jay Wang yet? He's going to be the valedictorian for sure. He would love these. Oh my gosh, he's all about it. Finally met Jay Wang at his house. And he was just so not interested and so lame and not that cool. And he was just like, no, I get straight A's. I really don't need these. My parents don't speak English anyway. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Didn't even get to sit down with the family. Didn't get to sit down after all that hype. And I came to find out from one of his friends that he got a 4 on the AP World. You know, like sometime during the summer, he got his scores back. He got a 4 on AP World from his 10th grade exam, and he cried. And some other kid had gotten a 5 because he actually studied from the book. So you bet I use that story every single sit down. I'd be like, kids, do you guys know who Jay Wang is? They'd be like, yeah, he's so smart. I'd be like, Jay Wang, even that guy got a 4 on his AP exams. You know how hard these things are? Yeah, he cried. But you know what? This kid, Justin, he actually studied from books like these. He got a 5. That's so powerful. That stuff really sells a lot of volume libraries. Or Southwestern Advantage. Sorry, I'm old school. Still selling volume libraries. Both work. So you can even tell awesome stories about people that don't buy it. Just pay attention to that stuff. Pay attention to what the kids from the town are telling you, and use it to your advantage, and helping the kids. So one last thing. Initially, when you meet with the kids, this kind of goes back to building rapport, going over the names list. Just make sure you actually ask about education and college and that being a priority for the family. Ask the parents, did you guys go to college? No? Okay, well, it seems like their kids going to college would be even more important, right? Or if the parents did go to college, say, oh, obviously you understand how important education is. That seems like a big deal for your family. Whatever the situation is, education should be that important for that family. If it's not, if they're like, oh, well, maybe they'll just be a pro BMX rider. Well, maybe you should think about getting up and leaving from that sit down to go find somebody that's actually serious and might care a little bit more about education. But for the most part, education is going to be the need, not whatever subject that kid's dealing with, if that makes sense. And ask the kids. And I have fun with all this stuff. I have fun and make jokes out of it. I'd say, Johanna, you do want to go to college, don't you? And the kids would be like, yeah. And I'd be like, all right, good answer, high five. And so you can have fun with the kids that way and say, good answer, you're going to make mom and dad proud. Just have fun with the family when you're kind of just talking about how important college and education is in general. Education is the need. And somebody asked me, it was Kai, you know, what about kids that say they don't like to use books because everything's so high tech these days, especially when the dad's involved. The only time I feel like I ever have to cover the internet objection is when dad's involved, because dads are so oblivious to everything that's happening in their kids' education. They're totally clueless 90% of the time. I mean, I do meet some really cool dads that they'll buy without even the kids and the mom there. I meet those people, but like just 90% of the time the dad's working a lot and has no idea what's going on. So that's immediately what he goes to. He just says, well, we have the internet for everything and get it for free. It's like, first of all, you pay $200 a year for the internet, probably. It's not free. Second of all, just show them the 2080 chart. Show them the 2080 chart. Dads listen to the numbers. The pie chart makes sense to them. You can tell them, yeah, kids always tell me they use the internet for 4 main things: Facebook, YouTube, video games, and school's like a distant fourth. So again, I'm always laughing and having fun with this stuff. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty much true. And then I say, on the off chance the kids actually use the internet for school, they tell me they use it for reports and papers. Is that pretty much right, Johanna? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you ever tried to Google your math homework, you find everything except what you're looking for. The kids are nodding, agreeing, dad's listening, looking at the 2080 chart. You just hammer the internet objection. You're not going to get that. And if you still feel like if you have a creeping suspicion that kid just really likes computer stuff way more than they would ever like books, lead with the College Prep Pack and the Southwestern Advantage. I could talk for 20 minutes about that and then just show the back of the volume library or the Southwestern Advantage, and that could be the whole demo. You can actually tailor your whole demo so that you barely show the books, and that's another way of handling that objection. The books just come along with it. It's just another part of it. It just happens to be the part that deals with the AP exams the best, in my opinion. So I think that's about all I have, to be honest. I think that I went through it really fast, and I was like looking at my notes the whole time, so I hope that was good and helpful. Go out and help a lot of smart kids.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brandon.
Yeah.